And I know that you deal with not just young people, but our young people, young adults particularly, are under massive, what I would feel to be massive attack at the moment. Of the young adults we get at Embercombe now, and young, you know, increases in age, but we now, it's a common occurrence for us to see the marks on their arms where they've self-harmed and things of this kind. We have an ongoing issue with young people dealing with suicidal thoughts, and some who've actually attempted it and some who actually have died. My Mohawk and Lakota friends in North America, we have a situation which we may be walking towards, but is nothing less or short than utterly terrifying, what is happening there. And at a scale that's almost extraordinary and unbelievable, numbers of young people now who are hurting themselves and indeed killing themselves. And we're not quite in this situation yet, but we certainly have, and I'm sure that will have been a motivation for many of you, whether it's, you know, socially, environmentally, politically, trade and commerce, almost in every field that we might consider now. There surely can be no doubt that we are riding into some kind of big storm, indeed, that it is with us now. Meanwhile, we have, of course, our world population just sailing upwards. We have people pouring into the cities. We have food shortages and gluts of food. We have water. I was told 40 years ago by my Native American friends, they just said, wars will be fought over water. Water is the true gold. And of course, it is happening. We've got another huge issue developing in Africa, Pan-Africa, across all kinds, with issues related perhaps to climate change and all of these things. It's a massive populations on the move, crossing borders, seeking safety. All this is the world we're born into. At the same time, we have the most extraordinary, beautiful, wonderful, and uplifting things happening as well. All of it mixed up, churned up together. For me, I keep coming back to this, you know, we talk about sustainability. I do feel that we may need to review some of the language and the terms that we use. Because if I can give you this example, I mean, WWF took me into a meeting with executives from Procter & Gamble, P&G. P&G, of course, are reeling from Unilever's steps that they've taken to try and take the high ground on sustainability and really start doing something much, much more powerful. And so P&G, who are something like 3 times as big as Unilever, and Unilever's huge, on the back foot, said we need a high-performing team, a really high-performing team who would take on sustainability and sort of run their business being guided, if you like, by the principles of sustainability, and then because they're a high-performing team, if they succeed, the rest of the business will notice, and then we'll get some traction maybe. So I was together with a group of other consultants. All the other consultants mostly were all experts in different areas of sustainability. They had their rationale, they had their case, they had their all the evidence that you would wish for, and they came in, and over 2 days, one presentation after another, a convincing argument for why we should move, why P&G should move towards greater sustainability. And we're now 3 hours from the end of the event, and I knew we had had almost zero impact. In fact, they were getting pissed off, really, and bored. These are business people, you know, they're rewarded for how much they churn out and sell. They are average in many respects, except that they're mostly very clever, very driven, very energetic, and they're successful, and they think highly of themselves, and they like their business and all the rest. But there was no traction. So really, there was nothing much to lose. Speaking to them as I am to you now, I said, we have 2 or 3 hours left. Are you up for taking a risk with me? Because I'd like to offer you a dare. But you have to say yes before you know what it is. Are you up for that? Now they're business people, they're driven, they love, of course. So that was no problem. They promised. I said, you promised? He said, yeah, I promised. So let's form a circle. Form the circle. What is it that you most deeply and profoundly love? You promised. So that you sit with that a second, and I'm going to ask this guy on my left, and he's going to answer that as courageously and deeply as he possibly can. Taking all the risk, he will answer that with his whole full heart. You promised. And then we'll go around the circle. 3 people in, and we had the first tears. This is one of the top performing teams, P&G in Europe. 3 people in, we had tears. During the break, I had one of the team on my shoulder, just a cascade of water just pouring down her front, utterly, completely unreal, because they had actually dared to go with this question. Remember, we failed completely. We were failing around to talk about sustainability. All the logic, all the really profoundly good rationale that would persuade us had failed. We were not getting there. Some very clever people have presented to them. What is it you most deeply and profoundly love? And what did they speak about? The same that everybody always speaks about, if you can persuade them to be honest and really true about this. Lovers, partners, husbands, wives, friends, children, grandchildren, siblings perhaps, beautiful places in nature, moments of time when something magical has happened, when you've sat together with somebody and for the first time crossed the threshold and entered a conversation that really has somehow shrunk and diminished the space between you. This is what we love. Feeling that you belong, feeling that you have meaningful work, feeling that you have something to give and that's been seen and recognized. This is what our entire human experience. It doesn't matter. I've asked this question in China, in Russia, in Turkey. It doesn't matter where you go. It's always the same. Because that's just who we are. And that's what they said. Went all the way around the circle and came back to me and I said, so, now we've had 2 days. 2 days with us trying to persuade you to take action for a truly sustainable world. I have just asked you what you love, and you have described to me the same world that I so patently failed to persuade you to take action for. You described in what you love all these same things. A place that's peaceful, that is just, where waste does no longer exist in any form because everything has been designed in a circular economy in a way that everything just flows as nature flows. The beautiful places, those beautiful places that some of you, sort of laughing under your sleeve as you described, where you first made love with that beautiful, wonderful person who's touched you to the very core, that food that was so delicious and everything, all of this is encompassed in what you love. Tell me, why, with all your brilliance, with all your expertise, your experience, and the positional power that you have to influence, why would you not dedicate your efforts towards that which you love, this sustainable world that you told me a short while ago was such a boring thing? And they went for it, and they committed, and they said, yes, we will, and now they're out there right now attempting to make this happen. The woman that leads the global P&G global sustainability team, she came down to our valley. She went through the same thing. She wept from the moment she arrived to the moment she left. She tried to leave halfway through. Came came to me and said, I cannot stand it any longer, I cannot bear it. You know, I'm going. I said, of course, it's not a prison. Leave. Why are you leaving? He said, because I'm a happy person, I have a happy family, I have a very successful career, I'm earning a lot of money, you know, I'm a person of faith, as she was, you know, I'm sorted out. But I've never met people like I'm meeting this week, from all different walks of life, and the wave, the deluge of pain, of fear, of loss is just overwhelming me. I have to leave. I'm a marketing director. Now she went back to P&G. She stayed, she went back to P&G. She went to see the CEO of P&G and said, I don't want to be a marketing director anymore. I think I'll be the global head of sustainability for P&G, if that's okay with you. Very, very much was okay with him, because he probably couldn't find anybody interested enough to do it anyway. And after all, it's a sideline job with no meaning, yeah? But this woman is a force. She is a power. She didn't get to be one of the most successful marketing directors in that organization because she had nothing. She has a power, and she's very determined, and she will not give up. This for me, this is us, you see, because it is nice, isn't it? We do hope every now and then to be recognized and seen, supported and encouraged and acknowledged and all these good things. You know, by government, by the new Vice Chancellor, by the Dean, by the head of department. It is encouraging, isn't it? It's helpful sometimes. Somebody turns around and says, yes, you know, very good, keep it up. But you see, it isn't always like that, is it? So right now, it's slid on the government agenda and somewhere, and resources, I imagine, they always are, aren't they? Something seems to shrink and diminish, and until the headlines or something else happens, it will probably continue. And so maybe you feel a little bit sort of shunted to the side a bit and finding it tough and hard and having to deal with your own feelings about this. But you see, this is at the core of this rather toxic word we use called leadership. Because leaders has nothing to do with the title you carry or the budget that you wield or the reserved car parking space that you might or might not have. You know, it's irrelevant, or indeed the class of travel that you've taken. It is something far, far more beautiful and is a fire inside you. That means that you actually, you choose to be a leader when you care enough about something. To raise your hand and say, I will stand by this. Which is why there are 3 questions that I would like to leave with you from this talk. I would feel that I had succeeded, if you like, if you carry these with you. And the first of those is, what is it that you most deeply and profoundly love? Now, why is this so important? Well, firstly, it is not a question to be answered in a few minutes or in a quick sort of reverie on the train or whatever as you go home. It is an ongoing, deepening question, I would suggest, for any person that wishes to have influence in the world. Why? Because as you answer that term deeper and deeper and deeper, you will find access to a reservoir of power and endurance and fluency and everything else that will eclipse anything that you've ever had before. Because you will know what you stand by. And any human being, woman or man, who really knows what they stand by will immediately be X factors times potentially more powerful than the one who doesn't. It is very important because you are constantly being spoken to tempt you away from the things that you love and know to be true and right and good for you. You're being flogged stuff day in, day out, whether it's coming through your emails, your internet, and everywhere you look, you are being sold something. You're being told, no doubt, probably by the people that run your universities, colleges, and everything else, that the most important thing is to get the people in through the door that will sustain the whole thing. You are being constantly measured on all kinds of different things that upon which your travel up the tree, the journey of your career depends, which maybe have very little relationship. I doubt you're particularly asked, to what degree are you operating to the matrix of how much what you love? You know that doesn't really come into the conversation. When you access that really deeply, and you know that you are orientating, you are navigating to that, you will also access a sense of real deep joy, because you know that you are not betraying yourself, that you're true, and that takes a level of courage. And that is what we need. We urgently need for our future, human and non-human. So I would ask you, do not be embarrassed, please. This is like fundamentally important. Why this question is not, for instance, lately spoken to us from the moment we're in primary school all the way through secondary school, and asserted throughout our college and university lives and into our working lives, is an insanity. When you consider, you ask people what is it they most want out of life, they'll say to be happy. Well, tell me, where is the happiness that exists when you're operating outside of those things that you love? Second question, what are your deepest and most profound gifts? Not what are you qualified in, not what is your experience, not what you're clever at or have a facility for. What are your gifts? What are your deepest and most profound gifts? Were you to ask indigenous people, because it does presuppose that you have some gifts, yes, which is, I know, delicate. You might secretly believe that you do not have any gifts, and you've been trying to keep that quiet for a long, long time, and just sustain it somehow in a different way. To indigenous peoples, there is no question. When that, I'm not asking you to believe this, okay? Just imagine, when that little spirit was floating around somewhere in time and space, and the creatress said, you're about to be born into this place called Earth and have a life, when this thing's going to happen to you, we're going to lodge inside you a tiny little bit of the genius of creation, and that's your gift. And your task is to locate it, find it, grow it, develop it, and finally, and very importantly, share it. Give it away. When you know what your gift is, you know what your work is. And so many people have no idea, because the greatest thing that most of us struggle with, and certainly the students and young people and older people who are learning, the thing that we struggle with is low self-esteem, and a sense that we don't actually amount to very much. Secretly. So many people. They will cover it. Every now and then you meet someone and say, that's bullshit, I don't feel like that. Now we're talking to bravado. We're talking to a pumped up, inflated ego sort of thing as a substitute for really something true. If you happen to be the exception to this rule, well, good for you, and I'm glad, and I hope you are demonstrating and embodying that in the way that you live your life, make your choices, teach, and do the work that you do. We should be saying to every young person, one of the worst things that's happening right now is that children and young people and young adults have no idea, having traversed the entire educational experience, whether they have any real true value. A peaceful person knows that. I know this for sure, you see, because myself at a much younger age was not so much a peaceful person. I lived on a very edge of some very, very dodgy life. It was a gun held to my head in a squat in South London that actually sent me finally out of that life, because I managed to get out of that room unhurt. A guy called Billy, who I'm mentoring now monthly from the Bronx in New York City, the reason he came is being mentored by me because he knows some of my past history, because he comes from an Irish and Italian immigrant family, and all his grandparents are gangsters and everybody and spent most of their time in prison. And what sits at the heart of all of this is it didn't felt like there was no place for them. Billy not feeling good about who he is. Now he's training to be a lawyer. And he said, I promise, I pledge, I will use my education to protect those who are unable to do it for themselves. Can I have a chat with you once a month as I make this journey? Your gift is really important. Your gift needs to be your work. And I understand if it's difficult and challenging, and the sadness that exists for somebody when you say the truth is, I don't know my gift. I understand the sadness, that comes from many that we encounter when somebody says, what is it that you most deeply and profoundly love? And they say, I never have. And behind that is just an aching silence of, I never have deeply and profoundly loved. Well, you sure I have the capacity so to do. This is our society, you see, I feel. I feel society doesn't know what it loves, doesn't know its gifts, just has no sense of its true value. What is the purpose of a human life? Why aren't we asking that all the way through? The Kogi Indians do in the high Sierras of Colombia. It's what that's where they start. They start with their children. As soon as they can speak, like 2 years old, they begin teaching them the purpose of a human life. And what is it? For the Kogi, to care for all living things. And then they turn around and they say, what else? We are adrift at a very, very fundamental level, but this movement we call around sustainability really is a different way of saying we are trying to walk home. We feel it, we are walking home. I would love you just to entertain, just imagine our society where our youngest children at home and all the way through the young adults, the young women, the young men, all of that, they have deeply within them, because it's been taught all the way through and embodied by the people who are facilitating their learning, to care for all living things. And since for the Kogi everything is alive, rocks, stones, forest, river, everything, that means everything. So that's love and gifts. Third question, what are your deepest and most profound responsibilities? Well, I don't wish to burden you, but truthfully, working in the sector that you do, you carry some pretty substantial responsibilities. Now, you chose it, at least I hope you did. I hope you somehow frog-marched into this. Or maybe there's somebody here in this room who never wanted anything to do with sustainability, thinks it's a pile of crap, but was somehow just dumped inside it. I don't know. But you have that role. Your responsibility, you are the forerunners and the carriers of a new dream. It's as huge as that. That's what it is. It's not actually that we're going to try and fix this and make it produce a little bit less CO2, or we're going to go and tinker around with this that will enable something to pollute a little bit less. We don't want less. We don't want something which creates less harm. We want something that creates no harm and positive benefit. You are, whether you think of yourself or not, and I doubt many of you do it, it's probably best you don't, but you're the vanguard of carrying a new story into our society. And that is why, you see, it's so important that you do not feel dependent, that you do not make yourself dependent on having the government, society at large, the new Vice-Chancellor, Dean or Head of Department or anybody else measure your value. So where does this leave us? I think it is really important that you have behind you a strategy for your own welfare, your own sustainability. And I literally just thinking about this before you came in, so I listed these. Firstly, the 3 questions. Please don't forget them. Quest them, not just now, forever. I am still on a journey of trying to go as deep as I can to that which I love. I pledge, I promise, I will never give up on that journey, because I know it enriches me as a human being, will make me more courageous in the situations that I need to be. It also means that I managed to earn the love of this young boy, this 18-year-old, who's off with his fashion thing to London tomorrow, because he trusts me and he knows a little bit about who I am. That means I have to be that person, not just speak the words. And he sees me all the time, so he knows if I'm not. Never give up. You cannot give up. If you're doing some of this work because you love it and know it to be true, then to give up means you betray yourself. You betray what you love. How could any of us willingly go to that place? You must find a way to sustain so that you never, ever even get close to giving up. In a Sundance ceremony that I did years and years ago, the first of 4 that I've done, when you fast for 4 days with no food and no water, and you're running to this tree together with the circle of dancers and the drums going and these ancient voices singing these chants. One day, 24 hours with no water is pretty tough. 48 hours is like, it's 31 degrees or something heat, bare-chested, running to the tree. I mean, it's serious. 3 days and you know you're dying. As I ran to that tree, I tripped, fell over, nosedived into the dust, grinding my face in the dust there, retching and just thinking, this is it. Well, if I have to go now, at least it was fierce. You know? Guy comes and kneels down next to me, whispers in my ear, Mac, how do you define failure? If I had the strength, I would have throttled it. Oh yes, hold on a second, let me just think about that. Perhaps I can just reference a few texts and things. Well, how do I define failure? He said, really? He said, failure has got nothing to do with not achieving some goal, or otherwise you set yourself up being given failure. He's not getting up again. Get up! Got up, run to the tree. Let's not give up. Keep good company. Seems to me pretty good advice. Sometimes we find ourselves, surrounded by company that is very unhelpful to the things that we consider to be precious, sacred, and beautiful. And it is our responsibility to make the changes and make sure that the company we have and that we keep is helpful to us. I would suggest seek wholeness, not perfection. From a very practical point of view, that at least in my case, the latter is impossible. Okay? Why seek perfection? No. But some kind of integrated wholeness, some fluency between the different parts of me, that feels something I could aim for. Drink at the well regularly, whatever is your well. Many of you will love nature. Many of you will feel restored by nature, beauty in its different forms. You need to drink at that well. You have to think for yourself what that means for you. But you need to stay healthy and grow strong and more resilient. And you cannot, said to me long time ago, Mac, you are drowning in sadness. If you want to die, we will help you die. We will sing the death songs. We'll take you into the ceremonies that will call you to your death. Is that what you want? Or do you want to live? You want to live? Then you better start living a different way. Drink at your well, whatever is that well. Drink at it regularly. And love. Love. and cry with gusto. It's my last piece on my list. I just want to add, it's the most extraordinary time to be alive. I was asked by Paul, where is he? Paul, whether I was okay now. Because I was told 18 months ago that I'd had a stroke. Then they said, no, sorry, we got that wrong. You haven't got a stroke, you've got a brain tumour. Oh! A brain tumour. Yes, and we're going to have to dig it out. So then I went to give my next talk, and the person at reception was clearly massively brain damaged. And I sort of negotiated that, and then the guy who was hosting it said, oh, you've just met my wife, she's just had a brain tumour removed. And I was like, wow, okay. Then at Embercombe on Wednesday day, another person came up to me and said, I hear you've got a brain tumour. I said, yes. And you're going to have it operated on? I said, I think so. And said, well, don't, because my husband had a brain tumour. He had it out a year ago. We're getting divorced now because I don't know him anymore. It's a different person. Completely changed. As I said to Paul, nobody ever seemed to say that there was any possibility it might be an improvement. Because I thought it might actually solve some of the things I've been working on for years and find myself a really nice person finally. But then I was told, no, you haven't. In January I was told, no, you don't have a brain tumour. You've got a small abnormality in the front left cortex of your brain that you've had since you were born, and I wouldn't worry about it. Take this very low dosage medication and you'll be fine. We have no idea. Live while you are alive. Do not consider this whole sustainability thing as a sad or it has depths of sadness. What is happening to our natural world and our people world and our non-human world, it will reduce anybody who really feels it to a depth of sadness and real pain. But there is ultimately, you only have to, when you walk out in a few seconds and you will walk into beauty, you will see a beautiful day. This is where we live. This is what we are about. This is what sits at the heart of the sustainability movement. It is a walking home to the beauty and the realization of what it means to be alive on this earth. What better work would you ever wish to do? Yeah. It's the alert. So I just wanted to say that. It's how much worse it would be to be walking around and have nothing to do and no cause to stand by. What you love, your gifts, your responsibilities, and joyfully walking forward. And I saw David Orr speak something like 20 years ago, he was an influence on me. I listened to this man speaking. I thought, I love this guy because I can feel something for him. So I'm going to try and hook up with him in some way or other. Keep good company.